We have two main goals for this lesson. Our two goals are to create a common language for us to use about parts being sandwiched between. One of the most common mistakes that I see once we're in the workshop, or even like people are starting to design their parts, is like people struggling with making decisions or remembering which pieces get sandwiched between each other and that type of thing. Does the top sit on top of the sides, or does the top sit next to the sides? And just people get all kind of mixed up with that, and they mess up their dimensions. Maybe they got to have to recut new parts, that kind of stuff. So we want to avoid that. So we're going to create some common language to assist us with trying to avoid that. Our second goal is for us to use our prototypes to help us calculate our dimensions and to create a cut list for our project. Cut list, I'm going to show you that. We're going to practice making it, and that's going to help us be organized when we're making our stuff in the workshop. So this here is a lesson to assist us in being successful in the workshop. Let's dive in. Let's get into this. So section number one, we're going to create a common language for us to use about parts being sandwiched between. A part that is on the outside of other parts and sandwiches them, we will call a bun. The opposite, a part that is on the inside of other parts and is sandwiched between, we will call that a burger. Or if you prefer to call that a patty, that's fine, but I'm going to probably just call it burger. So if we look at this wood plywood box here, plywood box, look at the left side, look at the right side. Those sides are sandwiching the top and bottom between them. Well, that, according to our information here, that must mean if these are on the outside and they're sandwiching parts in between, that these parts must be considered the bun. According to our language, you'd say, oh, yeah, this is a bun over here. This is the right side bun. My mouse is now on the right side bun. This here is the left side bun. My mouse is now on the left side bun. So then this part here is sandwiched between the two sides. Thus, this top will be the top burger, and this bottom part will be the bottom burger. So hopefully you understand that, because I am now going to quiz you, and we're going to quiz you with this project here. This is a front view. This is the back piece. Here's the front piece. If I turn to the side, now you can see the side piece. If I go to the bottom here, now you can see the bottom. So I have two questions for you. If we go to a side view, on this project, which piece or pieces would we consider the bun? Which piece or pieces would we consider the burger? If we think about this here, this front piece and the back piece are sandwiching the side piece. So this side piece is sandwiched in between the front and the back. That must mean then that this side piece would be considered the burger, and then this front piece would be the bun, the back piece would be the bun. If I flip it this way, hopefully that will help you understand it even further, because now this is top bun, bottom bun, this is sandwiched in between. Hopefully that is easy for you. Now, let's try that with the bottom view. So here's our bottom view. Here's our back piece, front piece, bottom piece, side piece, side piece. Same question. Which piece or pieces would be considered the bun? Which piece or pieces would be considered the burger? Hopefully that was amazingly easy for you and you totally understand. Bottom piece, definitely 100% we would consider the burger. This bottom piece is sandwiched between all the pieces. So if we look at this, the back and the front, that's sandwiching the bottom. The bottom is sandwiched between bun, bun, burger. You could also argue that this is a burger as well, because it's sandwiched between the back and the front. Now, if I turn it this way, and if we're thinking about the bottom, if we're not worried about these pieces, front and back, we're just thinking about the bottom and the sides, you would argue that in the situation of just considering the bottom and the sides, that this would be a bun, this would be a bun, and the bottom would be the burger. So that's the type of language I want you to use when we're talking about our products, which parts are getting sandwiched between. You say, oh, the side is getting sandwiched between. The front then is going to be the bun, the back's going to be the bun, this is going to be the burger. That's how I'd like you to talk about that when you're talking with each other and when you're talking with me. It'll just help speed our process up and be more effective in our communication. Section 2, our second goal. We want to use our prototypes to help us calculate our dimensions. We're going to also learn how to use a cut list. One of the first things you are going to do is you're going to take your beautiful prototype and you're going to mark it up with letters. You're going to mark, look at letter A here, you're going to mark each uniquely sized piece with a different letter. Every uniquely sized piece is going to get a different letter. Now, if you notice this project here, I marked the back as A and the front as A. The front and the back are actually the same size. The front has some extra details to it, but the reason why I marked them the same is because they're actually the same size. And when I cut them on the table saw, I would actually try to be cutting both at the same time, and it would help speed up my cutting process because they are the same size. But I would eventually add more details to this piece. So A. Now if I look at the side there, I marked that B. This side here I marked as B. Both sides on this project are exactly the same. The holes are going to be the same spot too, and the size is the same. This bottom part I marked as C because that is a uniquely sized piece compared to the rest. Basketball, backboard shelf kind of thing. So here's a little tip, is one thing that I like to do is the piece that I label A or that I write down first, I tend to try and figure out which piece is the core piece, or what is everything attached to, or what's one of the main pieces, or one of the main pieces that you see. So I marked A for the back because everything kind of connects to the back. That's kind of one of the main pieces on this project. And then I labeled this shelf B and this shelf B. And I assumed that they were the same size, but when I look closer at this now, actually this shelf looks a little bit bigger. I don't know if it's supposed to be. So if these two shelves were different sizes, I would label this B and this C, but I just want to point out, let's just pretend for now that they're the same size. So B, the rim here, gonna label that C, could label this D, the hook, and then on the back here, I forgot to label this, but these strips are the same, E. So on this project, I would label the back is kind of the core in this project. So I labeled the back A. Everything kind of connects to that. The top I labeled B. The sides I labeled C. There's two of those. The shelves I labeled D. Now, hopefully you're thinking, well, why did you label the top B and the shelves a different letter? The reason why is because usually when you make a box, so here's a couple little tips. Generally when you make a box kind of thing, you want the top to sit on top of the sides and on top of the back. The back usually we want sandwiched in between everything. That just sometimes look nicer. And so this top part, letter B, is sitting on top of the sides. So that'd be a bun. So this is a bun sitting on top of there. And then this shelf D is sitting between the sides. So this would definitely be a burger because it's sandwiched between the sides there. And then of course we have letter E. Both doors are the same size, so I'm just going to mark those as E. So now, okay, we got our project. We're going to be able to determine the quantities. Quantities means how many, and we should be thinking about what parts are sandwiched between and which parts are not. So now if I go to my cut list, you're either going to get this as a paper copy or you're going to make a digital copy. And this is going to be a very important thing you are not going to want to lose. You're going to want to keep this. Some information here for you to read. We're mainly just going to look at the table here. Here's our part labels. So piece A. Piece A is the back. Notice I typed here back, and then I wrote how it's sandwiched. I said the back is sandwiched between basically everything. The back is sandwiched between the top, the sides, the bottom. Quantity, that means how many. I'm only going to have one back. So I wrote 1 for quantity. Look at letter B now. Letter B, how I labeled here, is the top. And then I also wrote, like, well, how is it working here? Well, the top is a bun, so I'm saying it's going to sit on top of the sides and the back. So that's what I wrote. We only have one top, so I wrote quantity of 1. Sides, Here's our sides, letter C. I have 2 of those, so I put a quantity of 2, and then I put that it's sandwiched between the top and the bottom. So that means that the side is going to sit on top of the bottom. So the side in that situation will be the burger, top will be the bun, bottom will be the bun. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Another step that's really important is we need to determine the thickness of the material that we're using. If you remember, I had a bin where I showed you a whole bunch of different parts of what we can make our project out of. I'd be happy to help advise you on what thickness of wood you should use for your project. Generally, if it's a bigger project, if I'm thinking about something like this, if it's a bigger project and it needs to support a decent amount of weight, this one probably better to be 3/4 inch thick wood for our plywood. This one here, for the strength of the shelves, we might do 3/4 inch thick wood again. 1/2 inch might work as well, but I'd probably advise saying 3/4 inch thick for that one. And then if we're making something like this, maybe not a lot of weight's going to go on it. It's just going to sit on top of a desk or hang on a wall. Kind of smaller openings and that kind of stuff. This I would recommend using like 1/2 inch thick for. So then what I would do is on my cut list here, and that's every piece on this project I'd recommend 1/2 inch thick. So then really easily on this column where it says thickness, I can then type in the thickness. So I can put 1/2 inch. I could put that for all of that stuff. Now comes the tricky part. This is the part that's a little bit of some basic math. You've already practiced this. You did this in the calculating piece size practice, but this is now where you apply what we've been learning. You apply it to your own project, and we start determining dimensions. But let's say, so look at letter C here. We're going to calculate the piece sizes of our project, and we're going to actually write that on our cut list. So again, we're going to calculate the sizes of our pieces, and we're going to type that on our project. What I recommend you do is start with kind of the easier pieces. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the top, and I'm going to determine a number for how wide I want that top to be. So side 1, here would be side 1 of the top. It's a rectangle. So whenever you have a rectangle, you have a side 1, and then you have a side 2. Side 1, I'm going to say, let's just say that's 20 inches. 20 inches this way, 20 inches long. And then this way, side 2, I'm just going to say, let's say that's 4 inches. Now I'm going to do my basic math. If I'm doing 1/2 inch thick, the sides are 1/2 inch thick. That means that this back part is sandwiched between the sides. That must mean this back part is not as long as the top. So I say 1/2 inch plus 1/2 inch is 1, and I subtract 1 from 20. That must mean that the back then is going to be 19 inches wide, because in this situation, it is a burger. It is sandwiched between the buns, 1/2 inch thick bun, 1/2 inch thick bun. 1/2 inch plus 1/2 inch is 1. Subtract that from 20, I get 19 inches. And then let's say for the height, I'd have to calculate the height. I'm just, in the interest of time, I'm just going to punch in a number right now. Let's say the height is also 19. So anyway, that is how you use this cut list. You're going to determine the size of every single piece. You're going to have to possibly do some calculations. Depending on your project, you may or may not have to do some calculations. It really depends. For example, for this project, don't really have to do calculations because it's just, this is going to be as long as this is. And then another way that you use this cut list is you're going to X, like let's say you cut out, you went to the table saw and you cut out all your pieces, or you cut out the front and back. And let's just say for this one, I said, okay, I cut it out. So I put an X there. This is to help you stay organized. But then I leave this side blank because let's say I didn't cut this part out. Once I cut this part out, I added the additional details. Then I can put an X, oopsies, I can put an X over here and say, okay, I'm completely done with this piece because I did the extra details to it. One other thing I'm going to show you on here. Let's say you have some other parts that your project's going to use, but they're not really parts that you're per se making. Let's say you're going to put some hooks on it. Well, you're not making hooks. So what I want you to do is use this section for pieces that you're going to actually make, and then use this lower section for parts that you're going to make. You just have to kind of get. So for example, let's say you're going to get hooks Okay, well, how many hooks do you need? Oh, I need 10. Rope. I need rope. How many inches of rope do you need? I need 10 inches of rope. So anyway, so that's your next step. We're doing this to help us be more organized, and hopefully you can be more successful with your calculating your piece sizes, because this right here, this is kind of one of the most important parts of being successful with our projects. Good luck.